welcome to my channel. My name is Kylie and I read and I read. Today we're going to go over all of the books that I read in April. These are a lot of books that I've been trying to get to for multiple years. So a lot of old TikTok books on this list. But let's get started. Would I recommend this book? No. No. But if you're looking for something really ridiculous to read, absolutely I would recommend this book. I started reading this on March 1st and I did not finish it until April 1st. And I was actively reading almost every single day of March. And it was just, I would read a page and I would be like, I can't do this. I will say once I got to the end, it sped up a lot. And the ending felt a lot like, almost like a Hallmark movie, as in like everything happens in the last 10 seconds and like all of a sudden they're married with children. Not to spoil this book, but the main character, Josephine, I think is her name, has diabetes. And I've never read a book where the main character has diabetes. So that was really fun and interesting to see. I hate the love interest Wells. It's like he hates her guts until about page 10 and all of a sudden she's the love of his life. End of story. And they were both very wishy-washy. There was a lot of times where I was like, I actually don't understand why you guys can't be together. Feels like we're making up a lot of reasons. And I think we all remember whenever this book was announced and it was pitched as a touch her and you'll die, but golf player? Not really sure what that has to do with anything. And there was no reason to have a touch her and you'll die at any point in this book. He's just playing in a golf tournament. So yeah, 2 stars. Not a great way to start the month. Will I read more Tessa Bailey? Yes. It reminded me of watching like a Disney Channel show almost. So yes, 2 stars. Once More with Feeling by Alyssa Sussman. I'm not sure when this book came out, but I've had it on my shelf for at least a year or 2. The main character, Kathleen, basically is going to be in a Broadway play that's directed by a former love interest, and the circumstances around them getting together for the first time had kind of blown up her life and her career. So it reminded me a lot of Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, and I think that was the intention here. The dynamic that the couple had was very interesting and fun to read. I also love reading about anything show business, singer, Broadway, etc. I love that kind of stuff. So the topic was really up my alley for sure. It was fun. I don't know if I have more to say than that. The ending of this just did not really do it for me. It was just kind of boring. But there were real stakes. So that was nice, but overall I'd give it 4 stars. I think is generous, but I'll give it 4 stars. I don't like to do half ratings because like in my head, like I have to do an even number. So I think I would give it 4 stars. Yeah, I would give it 4 stars. I really liked the dynamic between the main couple, and obviously like that's such a big portion of the book. So 4 stars. Why have I never seen anybody talking about this book? Like, have people just not read it? So I read Lily Chu's first book. What is it called? Oh, The Stand-In. I read Lily Chu's first book, The Stand-In, a few summers ago, and I loved it. I don't think it's a 5-star read for me, but probably a 4-star. It was really fun, really cool. I wouldn't say cool. It was really fun. I loved the tropes in it. And so I saw this at a Barnes & Noble And I was like, oh, I love Lily Chu. And this is only her second book. And so I picked it up. I don't want to spoil too much of the book, but I will. Well, basically the main character is kind of like a straight-laced, good girl. And then her roommate's cousin comes to stay with them for a while, and he kind of like gets to open her up more. And it took me a long time to get through the beginning because I was kind of confused, like, what are we really doing here? But then I got about a fourth in, and I was like, wow, seriously, one of my favorite book couples ever. I will say that there were like a lot of reasons for them to not be together that didn't really make sense. Like, it felt like we were just creating for the sake of we need conflict. But once you get to, basically he has a secret that gets revealed. Once you get there, all of the conflict I think is totally valid. And it kind of just like opens up into this whole new world than you thought that you were in the first part of the book. I definitely would read it again. I'm keeping it on my shelf. This was my first 5-star read of the entire year. So really exciting, really amazing. I would recommend this to anybody. The Comeback and The Stand-In does a really good job on touching on a unique viewpoint of Asian culture that I feel like I don't really see very often in books where a person of color is the main character, where they're like, I don't really identify, like I didn't grow up celebrating Chinese culture. I'm a Canadian. But everybody looks at me and thinks, oh, Chinese immigrant. Everybody looks at me and assumes all of this stuff about my life, but I'm really just a Canadian. And I thought that was so interesting to hear about, to read about. 5 stars. 5 stars. If there's one book from this video that I want people to go read, it's The Comeback by Lily Chu. Yeah. For some reason, I really like fantasy. For some reason, I haven't read a fantasy book in several years. So this was my first fantasy book in a really long time. And I was definitely very intimidated because sometimes fantasy is harder for me to read or understand. This book just right off the bat picks up in the story. I didn't feel lost at all. The world building was great. Emily Wilde goes to this kind of Icelandic country because she is about to publish this large work about the Fae, basically. And she goes there to study their species of Fae. And it was very like factual, and you know, it was very like intentionally written like a textbook almost, until Wendell shows up, and then there's a hint of romance, but I really like that didn't overpower the whole story. I believe there's a second one. I do intend on reading it in May, hopefully. It's on my TBR. Yeah, 5 stars. I thought the romance was really cool. I thought the world was really cool. Basically these fairies like come into this Icelandic village and take their children or teenagers or whatever, and they kind of just like take them and raise them as their own, and sometimes they'll leave their children in the child's place. It was just such an interesting concept, and I really can't wait to hear more about this world and maybe get some more, you know, intention behind what the fairies are doing, because I feel like that is really what was missing from this book for me. Otherwise, 5-star read, I loved it. I'm pretty sure that this book came out a long time ago. I could be wrong. I bought this in a blind date with a book. Sorry, I want to make sure I have my notes. I bought this in a blind date with a book at least 3 years ago, maybe more, and I had not touched it. So I was so glad to finally read it and get it off my shelf, because my physical TBR is honestly overwhelming. So I was so glad to get it off of my shelf. I can't say that it's my favorite read ever. It's about Juliet, who comes out to her family as a lesbian and then goes to live in Portland with her favorite author for a summer internship. And kind of a coming of age, coming to terms with your family's opinion of you, with who you are as a member of the LGBTQ. It's really interesting, and I loved the messaging that it gave. But for some reason, I just didn't really connect with it that much. I just like, the characters just weren't my favorite. And I felt like it was trying to sell more romance to me than what was in the book. Like I was supposed to believe in this couple. I can't even remember her name. So I didn't love that. I know the romance isn't really the point and it's supposed to be more of a coming of age story. I couldn't really get into that. It took me a really long time to finish and I feel like it put me in a bit of a reading slump. So I gave it 3 stars, a solid 3 stars. I would definitely recommend it to people, but I don't know if it's something that I would read again. Okay, Girl Abroad by Elle Kennedy. I love Elle Kennedy. The first week of the year, I spent reading all of it's not Briar U because that's the new series. What is the old one called? It's like The Deal, The Mistake, The Score, the hockey books, basically. I spent the first few weeks of the year reading all of those, and I thought they were so fun. I loved the relationships, I loved the tropes, and so I saw this book. My best friend Abby studied abroad last year. It wasn't in England. I think this is in London, right? Yeah, it wasn't in London, it was in Scotland. But my best friend Abby studied abroad last year, and I was reading the back of this book, and this is about a girl named Abby who studies abroad in London. So I just thought it would be fun to read, and I loved Elle Kennedy's writing style. It's a lot bigger than it needs to be, and a lot of stuff happens in this book that didn't need to happen and I wasn't really interested in happening, but it was a really fun read. It had me, I would listen to the audiobook in my car and I would like gasp out loud. I was having such a fun time reading this book. All of the references and stuff are really fun. Her dad is a rock star, which I always love anytime there's somebody famous in the book because I'm obsessed with celebrities and all of those tropes. So I had a really fun time with this. It's like a love triangle kind of situation. So one of them I really loved, the other one I really didn't like. I won't say who, but I feel like once you read it, you'll know. And she she chooses one at the end, but it's kind of like feels like a last minute decision. And I feel almost like she didn't need to choose someone. And I kind of wish that there would have just been like a second book where it like shows her getting to know him more, because I feel like I didn't get to see a lot of that. So I'll give it a solid 4 stars. I had such a fun time reading this book. Okay, so these next 2 I literally finished last night, so my thoughts on them are very fresh. Song of Achilles, you all know her, you all love her. I bought this book, another one that I bought easily 3 years ago. Oh, the cover is so pretty in the light. I bought this 3 years ago, and I've tried to read it at least 5 times. For some reason, the first 50 pages are just not interesting to me, which is so weird because I'm such a freak about Greek mythology and all of that. It's so interesting to me, and I literally just came back from a Greek trip. I literally just came back from a trip from Greece not that long ago, and so I really thought that I was in the perfect place to read this and appreciate it. And I just don't understand what I'm missing. Like, I've seen so many people give amazing reviews for this, videos of people sobbing while they read it. I did cry at the end. I will say that the ending is very good, but I just don't understand what I'm not getting. I thought it was great. I just it's not my favorite book of all time. I definitely don't think it's like the best book I've read even this year. The writing style was very beautiful and poetic, and it felt almost like I was reading like an ancient Greek story. And obviously, Patroclus, isn't that his name? Patroclus? Let me know. Patroclus, whatever his name is. Him and Achilles have such a beautiful relationship, and I found myself really caring about it. And once I hit about 100 pages, I was sucked in and I was starting to understand what everybody was talking about. But then once they get to Troy, it really started slowing down for me again. And I didn't really feel that connected until the end. And it kind of put me in a bit of a slump. It took me 2 weeks to read this book. and normally this would take me a few days. So I gave it a solid 4 stars. And I think this is one that I'm just gonna have to come back to at a later date. And maybe I'll come back to it and I will be screaming and crying and sobbing. Or maybe it's just not for me. I really thought that this was gonna be a great book for me, but something about it just does not connect. It's just not up there. So I don't really know. 4 stars. And now, I don't know. Do you ever read a book and it's just so good that you're like, I don't know if I even want to tell anybody about this book? Like, because it feels like I went on a journey with this book and I don't want to share. Obviously, all of you know that Emily Henry is probably the best author in our generation right now, besides Taylor Jenkins Reid. I would say for me, both of them are up there. I have 2 on my shelf right now. The Beach Read is like single-handedly the book that got me back into reading again, along with Book Lovers. Those have been 2 of my favorite books of all time. I think this is my favorite Emily Henry book, maybe. Obviously, like, I just finished this last night, so I'm gonna need some time to think on that. But I read it in one sitting. I did not get out of bed. I sat and read it all. I loved the characters. And not just the main couple. I loved her mom, her dad, her coworkers, her people that they bought groceries from. I loved every single person that I met in this book. Well, obviously, except for the antagonists, you're not supposed to love them, but I was just enthralled by this world and this story, and I believed it, and I felt myself being there with them. I don't think that I really need to give you the blurb for this book. I'm pretty sure everybody who is watching this has heard of this book and probably has read it by this point. It's an obvious 5-star. Everything she touches is a 5-star. And I honestly might read it again next month. Books I'm going to read in May. I thought we could talk about this for a second. Right now, I'm reading Ready or Not by Cara Baston. It is an accidental pregnancy trope, but also a best friend's brother trope from what I'm gathering. I'm about halfway through it so far. I really, really like it. I just don't love some of the dialogue. I really like the writing style, but some of the dialogue is like cringy. And it's coming off a little millennial in a way that like kind of annoys me. But I have been enjoying it so far. The cover is beautiful. It just looks like New York Springs. So cute, so cute. And then I also have Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. I've never read a Lynn Painter book before. Everybody talks about her other one. It's like something about the movies. The Love Wager? I don't know. Everybody talks about her other one. I haven't read any of her books yet. I saw Destiny Sidwell and Haley Pham talk about this book. I feel like I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on this book. I just thought the concept was cool. I'm pretty sure that their job is to object at weddings. People hire them to object at weddings, I think. I thought that would be kind of fun. So that's next. And then I also have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I've seen a lot of people talk about this book. I think this is another one that came out a while ago that I am kind of late coming around to read. I know Haley Pham loves this book, and I love Haley Pham, so that's an easy decision. I'm definitely going to read it. I love the cover. It's so beautiful. It looks great on my shelf. I love to read anything colorful. That's all I have physically for my TBR right now. I do have a bunch of books downloaded on my Kindle that I need to read. I just don't really enjoy reading on my Kindle a lot of the time, but maybe I'll get some traveling in this summer and I'll get all of those done. But if you can think of any books that you think I'll enjoy or you want to hear me talk about, comment them down below. I would love to read them. I'm so easily influenced. I guess I'd probably say something about like things. Thank you guys so much for watching this. This is actually my first YouTube video. I don't know if I should have led with that. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you come back to my channel. I have a lot of video ideas I'm working on. Anything that you want to see me do, I will do. I'm thinking that I might do I might read all of ACOTAR in 1 week. I've never read ACOTAR. So let me know if that's something you want to see from me, or if you don't want to see anything from me, I guess let me know too. Yeah, thanks for watching.